and the melodies I play will keep traditions alive.
This is the Harlemville legacy.
Say something in the mic.
Yeah, we're just testing.
So if you need me to, bro, I'll give it the. Or, like, you know what I'm saying? To prolong it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not
No.
everybody likes to get up there and talk like I'm all about it. So. Yeah, if you need me to, just put me aside. Right?
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Today is November 15th, 2021. It is 6:15, and we will begin a regular meeting of the Harlandale trustees. My name is Norma Cavazos. I am the board president. I am going to take roll call right now. Mr. Moreno.
Present, ma'am.
Hi, sir. How are you? Mr. Mancha.
Present.
Thank you, Mr. Mancha. Good to see you. Mr. Luna.
Present.
Hi, Mr. Luna. Ms. Limon. Here. Thank you. Ms. Carrillo sends her apologies. She will not be at this meeting tonight. Ms. Ortiz was here, stepped out. I will check her back in when she comes. We do have a quorum. Mr. Soto, would you let us know who's here from staff and cabinet, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees. Tonight, we have Executive Director of Operations, Dr. Hinojosa.
Here.
We have Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance, Mr. Richard Hernandez. We have Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Melissa Casey.
Here.
We have our Executive Director of Human Resources, Dr. Salinas.
Here.
And we have our Public Information Officer, Mariana Veraza.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Soto. We do also have Dr. Judy Castleberry with us this evening. Hi, Dr. Castleberry.
Hello, thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 2. So the next item on the agenda is a public hearing pursuant to the Texas Local Government Code Section 180.007. I'm going to take a quick pause and check in Ms. Ortiz. Ms. Ortiz, I'm taking roll call.
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. As I was saying, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing pursuant to the Texas Local Government Code Section 180.007, which requires a public hearing to be held if any payment is made to an employee or former employee that exceeds the contract amount owed to an employee or former employee. As such, this item has been properly posted and a sign-in sheet has been provided for the public to speak if they so desire. There is an agenda item tonight that the board will consider a compensation stipend adjustment for all our full-time employees. Mr. Soto?
Yes, Madam Chair. The public purpose or the reason is to allow for additional compensation for all full-time employees, is to boost the morale of our employees and as incentive to retain district employees. The proposed payment and terms are as follows. Full-time employees will be awarded a retention stipend in the amount of $1,000. The board previously approved and budgeted a stipend in the amount of $600 to be paid in 2 installments, December 2021 and May 2022. We are considering adding $400 for a total of $1,000 for the 2021 and 2022 school year as follows. This is to be paid only to all full-time employees who have started employment with the district on or before November 7th, 2021 and April 10th, 2022. Full-time employees who begin after November 7th, 2021 and April 10, 2022, or who have submitted a letter of resignation, retirement in lieu of termination or disciplinary action will not be eligible. The retention incentive stipend to be awarded will remain in 2 equal installments in December 2021 and May 2022. The estimated cost for the additional $400 retention stipend will be funded from the general fund and child nutrition fund balance in the amount of $311,600 and from the ESSER 3 funding in the amount of $618,000.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. Mr. Hernandez, would you
Thank-
walk us through this, please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. As you all have stated, this evening, we're having a public hearing regarding this amendment change regarding our stipend. Our original budget was approved to provide a $600 retention stipend to be paid in 2 equal installments of $300 each in December and May. The funding source, again, was from the ESSER 3 funds, and the remaining non-campus staff was from the general fund and child nutrition fund. Again, as Mr. Soto just read, the eligibility is for full-time employees that are employed as of November the 7th and April the 10th, and for the respective installments. Any employees employed after November 7th, 2021 and April 10th, 2022 would not be eligible, including those full-time employees that submitted a letter of resignation or retirement in lieu of termination or disciplinary action. So the proposed amendment to the original budget regarding the retention stipend is to provide an additional amount of $400 to the retention stipend of $600 for a total of $1,000. Again, the payment will remain in 2 installments, but now it would be $500 in each installment of December in 2021 and May of 2022. Again, the funding sources remain to be ESSER 3 for the campus staff, and for non-campus staff would be from the general fund and the child nutrition fund. The available fund balance that has been audited is $10,220,000. This does not include the $25 million that the district continues to set aside for 2.5 months of operations. So just looking at this particular part of that fund balance, after subtracting the deficit that we have, after we're going to use ESSER funds to cover state compensatory costs, would be a deficit of 2.8 million. And the proposed retention stipend, which is, as we read, 311,600 from the general fund, would then leave us a fund balance of 7,078,856. Again, does not include the 25 million that we have set aside. Madam Chair, this is the presentation for the amendment, both to the retention stipend and to the proposed budget.
I am so sorry. Unless I'm incorrect, I believe no one signed up for public comment on agenda item 2. Is that correct, Ms. Patty? Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, thank you for your presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
We're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, and that is agenda item 3, public comment. I do believe Ms. Natalie Clifford signed up for public comment. Ms. Clifford? Ms. Clifford, give me a minute. Just as a friendly reminder, each person shall have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The topics addressed shall be limited to those specifically included on the board's agenda and/or district related. Let me get my little timer going. Give me 1 second, please, ma'am. Okay, Ms. Clifford, I'm ready whenever you are, ma'am.
Good evening, Superintendent Soto, Board President Cavazos, esteemed board members, and wonderful Harlandale ISD community. I'm speaking tonight in support of agenda item number 7E, which pertains to the board's consideration of increasing the annual retention stipend for all full-time employees from $600 to $1,000 using federal ESSER funds. I'm here on behalf of our hundreds of teachers, custodial staff. I'll pause for a second because of the sound. And support staff who are burnt out and exhausted after a year and a half of teaching throughout a global pandemic. Teachers are walking away from the profession in record numbers across the country due to unsustainable workloads, and shortages are massive per a number of articles you could find on Google. We are witnessing and bearing the consequences firsthand of the effects of major mental health struggles and crises with our youth. All of this is occurring as the state government is focused on the idea of so-called learning loss and pressuring students and staff to deliver difficult measures on standardized testing rather than centering the social emotional support for and needs of our students. I'm deeply appreciative of the board's consideration of this motion to increase the stipends so that we can retain our highly qualified, dedicated, and outstanding staff across our district. My gratitude is sincere, especially because other school districts have had to fight to even receive any retention stipend at all. It's during times like these that I'm thankful to work for our school district. I would also like to advocate, however, that moving forward, students, teachers, support staff, and families be more consistently democratically included in the process of determining the use of ESSER funds in our district. Federal law states that a learning education agency must engage in meaningful consultation with stakeholders and give the public an opportunity to provide input in the development of its plan for the uses of the ARP ESSER funds, and to specifically engage in meaningful consultation with students, families, school and district administrators, teachers, principals, school leaders, educators, etc., including the interests of children with disabilities, English language learners, children experiencing homelessness, in foster care, migrant students who are incarcerated, or other underserved students, I know there was a survey sent out in September asking for staff input about the spending of ESSER funds, and this is a positive step. And as a member of GPERC, I know we also discussed the ESSER funding in June, covering summer school expenses. According to the district website, under stakeholder input, there were also some family and community meetings held in June with district parents. Nevertheless, I ask us to consider how else we can be more transparent and inclusive of our students and staff, such as on a monthly or quarterly basis with the stakeholder committee. As someone who works, for example, specifically with emergent bilingual youth and migrant students, this is one example of a group that could be more meaningfully included. Our students and staff know on the ground what is happening, and it is difficult, and we would welcome the opportunity to participate in democratic conversations regarding these expenditures. I thank you all very much for your time and consideration and your generosity in increasing this stipend, hopefully this evening.
Perfect timing, Ms. Clifford. Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item 4, announcements. Ms. Veraza.
Good evening. If I can have everyone stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, Elias Sanchez, he's a 12th grade student from STEM Early College High School, will be doing our pledge both in English and Spanish. He is in student council, yearbook, and in 2 robotics clubs.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas Pledge. Honra la bandera de Texas. Te prometo lealtad a ti, Texas, un estado bajo Dios, uno e indivisible. Thank you.
So Elias also plans on studying mechanical engineering, and as of Friday, he also got a job, so he does it all.
Ooh, congratulations.
So moving on with our announcements, last week we had an email blast through our campaign with the Express News. This is going to be on a monthly basis. And so we sent out an email blast to 31,250 email addresses from the Express News database. And that email looked like this. So it's the top 5 reasons why you should enroll at Harlandale ISD. And so it's interactive. Each one of those numbers, if you clicked on it, it would take you to the different places on the website. So if you clicked on early childhood, it would take you to the early childhood website, the dual language and so on. So I just wanted to show you what it looked like. We also had 3 commercials aired during the Frontier Bowl on Channel 2. Some of you might have already seen them on our social media, but I wanted to share them with you this evening.
We're putting in work on the field.
And in rehearsal.
With baseball and softball offered at the middle school level.
You could say we're pioneering in athletics.
And with unique fine arts opportunities, I feel connected to my cultura.
Pretty soon I'll be playing with the Indians.
And the melodies I play will keep traditions alive.
This is the Harlandale legacy. Harlandale ISD is a district for everyone, para todos.
Whether you live around here or not, open enrollment means anyone can attend.
Even the little ones, thanks to the early childhood education programs.
We're talking early childhood as young as 6 weeks old.
Become a part of the Harlandale legacy. Enroll today.
Because of the Harlandale Education Foundation, I'm guaranteed a scholarship when I graduate.
And so is every college-bound senior at Harlandale ISD.
Here at Summerlin College High School, I'll have an associate's degree by the time I get my high school diploma.
Every penny counts when it comes to preparing for college.
So I can reach my future career goals.
And create my own legacy once I've left these Harlandale ISD halls. Enroll today.
So those were the 3 commercials that aired on Channel 2. Thank you. And then also, as you know, every other week we have the Harlemville highlights. So this past week we highlighted our Agri Life program. It's a after-school program, so I wanted to show that to you too.
It tastes good. I bet
Like grass.
like grass, maybe. Yes.
So the Learn, Grow, Eat, Grow is a junior master gardener curriculum that we adopted with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. And we're currently at 5 schools, after school sites with Harlandale ISD. The kids actually learn a little bit about nutrition, the different vitamins and nutrients they get from the vegetables that they're growing in the garden.
Keep our refrigerator and our freezer clean too. Okay.
They do a little bit of gardening, so they learn a little bit of where their food comes from, and they get to taste it. So that's always the fun part. And we also get to do some food demonstrations. So they not only taste the raw vegetable, but they taste it with different ingredients as well.
So we can actually eat the leaf and the stem of the Swiss chard. So you can do this part.
And they're going to take a recipe home, and it's actually the recipe that we do in the classroom. So they got to taste it raw, different ingredients, and now they get to share that with their family. And we're hoping for them to expose those vegetables to the family.
That was the highlights of last week. So as you know, we also had our golf tournament 2 weeks ago. And so for the second consecutive year, we surpassed the amount of $25,000. As you know, this money all goes to the Harlandale Education Foundation, and that money is used to be able to provide scholarships for students to further their education. We also got the results today for the United Way campaign, and our total was $67,827 with 54 cents. That's the most money that has been raised at Harlandale ISD. And that's also the list of the campuses and departments within Harlandale ISD that got 100% participation. So thank you to all of them. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Veraza. Any questions for Ms. Veraza or comments for my colleagues?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to take this opportunity to see if the Terwells Middle School principal is here. Last Friday, me, Ms. Cavazos, and Ms. Limon were witness to a spectacular musical hosted at the Terwells Middle School on Friday night. And I got to tell you, I cannot thank you enough for putting on a musical for our community to showcase the talented students that we have there. They had different students on Friday and Saturday. And folks, if you did not go, you missed a jewel. And I got to tell, and I can't remember the name of your musical director, but she was first year teacher, Miss Cisneros, spent 3 months with these kids after school. And let me tell you, it showed. They were fantastic. You could tell that they were confident. They were energetic. They provided the audience something to clap at, about. And then afterwards, these kids were just so happy that they were the highlight of the evening for all of these adults. So thank you, Ms. Charles, for sponsoring that. Give our best. You had there were 2 teachers, Ms. Cisneros, and there was another one, Ms. Decker. Thank you very much. Please give us give them our gratitude for the hard work that they do. And I know that first year teacher, her mother was there. And she works for the Northside ISD. And I told her, I said, I know you want her to move to the Northside ISD, but we want her to stay here. And her mom, with a tear in her eye, said she wants to stay here. So thank you for giving her that opportunity as well.
Anyone else? I will piggyback on what Ms. Ortiz said. It was a sold out show Friday night, and people came after it had begun, maybe 5-10 minutes later. There was nowhere to sit, and they still chose to stay and watch the kids perform. It was such a good show. Yes, such a good show. I hope to see more. I hope to see more. Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item, Mr. Luna, who?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just want to say I really appreciate, I haven't been to Frontier Bowl in like over 20 years. I taught in the district over 30 years. And I didn't get to, I left about the 3rd quarter because different reasons, but I got to watch the rest of it on TV, and I saw the replay and the next day. And I did see these commercials, and I'm very proud. I said, I like the way the commentators were mentioning the history of Harlendale and how unique we are and things like that. And then we got a letter from the football magazine that they'll be back next year. So we'll get more coverage. So I hope we decide to keep it on Saturday. That's a kind of maybe new tradition we're going to do, but it was an awesome sight to see. We usually don't get this much attention on the South Side. So I'm proud to be here, I'm proud to be part of Legacy. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, now I'm going to move on to agenda item 5. 5A, that would be Ms. Ortiz.
Yes, Madam Chair. So the Lone Star Governance has us using a time use tracker every regular scheduled meeting. And this, what I'm reading, is for October 18th, 2021. The framework is student outcome minutes with the board tracks, where it tracks its time invested during public authorized meeting. So under visions and goals, we had 6 minutes for student outcome goals, 4 minutes for setting constraints or theories of actions. And the minutes setting timelines, deadlines, goals, or plans, or other items or outcomes was 33 minutes. Under progress and accountability, we had 0 minutes performing board self-evaluations using the LSG integrity instrument, and 0 minutes evaluating the superintendent on student outcome goals, GPMs, constraints, and CPMs. Under systems and processes, we use 2 minutes for discussing, debating, and voting on items removed from or on the consent agenda. On advocacy and engagement, we had 0 minutes hosting two-way communication meetings on student outcome goals, constraints, or theories of action, or 0 minutes recognizing the accomplishments of students and staff regarding progress on student outcome goals. We had 9 minutes hosting all other board-led, co-led, or called community or community committee meetings. Synergy and teamwork. 0 minutes fulfilling statutorily required public hearings, forums, and comments. And then other, any time spent on an activity that does not meet the conditions listed above. That was 4 minutes. So on student outcome minutes, we spent 10 minutes. Other topic minutes, we spent 48 minutes for a total of 58 minutes for an outcome of 17% spent of our time spent on student outcome minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Our next agenda item 5B. If you notice, there is an asterisk on that agenda item, and we have begun to put asterisks on agenda items that are directly connected to student outcomes. So in tonight's meeting, agenda item 5B is directly connected to student outcome. Mr. Soto?
Yes, Madam Chair, at this time we'll have Ms. Tracy Anderson oversees our CTE programs.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Anderson, and thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight to make this presentation. I'd like to thank the members of the board, Superintendent Soto, and members of cabinet and all of their support as we go through each year. Can you all hear me okay? I just want to make sure. Okay. Okay, tonight I'm giving an overview of information for career and technical education. I've been pleased to be the CTE coordinator in Harlandale ISD. This is my 6th year, and I enjoy watching the opportunities that we provide our students. And I wanted to give you some information on the background, but also to answer the question on our progress measure for the Lone Star Governance Board goal. First of all, students in the Harlandale Independent School District Career and Technical Education Program have the opportunity to select from over 21 programs of study within 12 career clusters that we offer here. And that's out of 14 career clusters available in the state. As they continue to work with their counselors and parents, teachers to build their high school 4-year programs, our graduation plan, which also includes earning an endorsement. Teachers, we are fortunate to have those teachers that actually have industry experience so that they can give that to their students and provide extra information in addition to the curriculum designated by the Texas Education Agency and approved by the school board. Beginning in middle school, our students are exposed to opportunities to investigate careers through our Investigating Careers courses in college and career readiness. We also have Gateway to Technology courses available where students can look forward to high school and looking for their career pathway, or as we now say since 2019, their program of study. Career and technical education, as you may have heard, is new in the fact that they have upgraded the information for it at the state in the last 2 years with the advent of Perkins 5 federal funding. And with that, we're providing students with course sequences that prepare them for success in high wage, high skill, and in-demand careers. This is also leading them for post-secondary credentials, but also allows the districts to communicate with the community and area stakeholders to provide the pathways to help students with their success. Students also have the opportunity to actually participate in student organizations and also the National Technical Honor Society, which is available on both traditional high school campuses as well. We also offer dual credit courses along with Texas State Technical College, the Alamo Academies, along with Alamo Colleges. And also new this year, we work with on-ramps for our arts and AV program in broadcasting and film. Our mission statement in CTE with Harlandale includes the Harlandale ISD Career and Technical Education provides opportunities for students to become college and career ready through rigorous academics, technical skill training, and participation in work-based learning opportunities. And through the CTE programs of study offered, students may also earn industry-based certifications to further prepare them for college, career, military readiness. And of course, we also use our vision statement as the districts, and that is inspiring our students to be the change. Okay. What I'm showing you here, these are the required uses of our Perkins 5 federal funding, and that includes the following. We do follow this. This year we were allocated $199,145 with an additional allocation of $31,000 that just came through today for a total of approximately $235,000 in federal money. But that's in addition to state and local funding of over $791,000 that we currently use to help support our students and teachers with curriculum and equipment. That also goes to all CTE teacher salaries, as 55% of the funding that's earned in allocation is utilized for those purposes. In this slide, the first area, one of the 6 areas, is that we provide career exploration and career development activities through an organized, systematic framework. In other words, we're designed to provide aid to our students in the middle grades, either while they're taking their career and tech courses or before enrolling in them, so that they understand what career opportunities and programs of study that we have available. We use Zello, which has been in the district for several years now. It took the place of career cruising. We also participate in our career fairs. In the last couple of years, it's been via Zoom or our website. Due to the COVID pandemic, we encourage students to take field trips with their teachers, guest speakers, to support the work-based learning portion and internships at the end of their 4 years or during their 4 years. Last February, we utilized Facebook Live here in the district to showcase all 12 of our career clusters, and we had our students and teachers present that. And we found success with that on YouTube, as that's where we stored it, so it's easily accessible on our website for CTE, but also in the district too. We also provide professional development. It's one of our main goals this year. We provide that professional development for teachers, faculty, school leaders, administrators, specialized instructional support personnel, career guidance and academic counselors or paraprofessionals. And we look at that as a meaningful and targeted professional development, which can be reflective of their T-test evaluation. This can also include classroom management, professional development, supporting how to support their TEKS or Texas Essential Knowledge skills required to be covered in each of our CTE courses, writing lesson plans, reevaluating our scope and sequences, and now new this year is moving into the realm of common formative assessments reflective of the academic core content. The third one is provide within career and technical education the skills necessary to pursue careers in high skill, high wage, in-demand occupation. So we look at how we can support our teachers with the newest in industry equipment, which we find that we use this with our advisory committees, hands-on skill development within our courses and classrooms and in labs, and we support our academics. And that's one of our goals with Perkins 5 is to show how we're supporting the academic piece for success on end of course exams. We also look at supporting integration as it transitions into the next one, which is integration of academic skills and CTE programs of study, which brings to mind, for example, in a principles of health science class and even in a principles of manufacturing class. They both have the same goal into supporting of mathematics, for example. So while they're looking at solving problems and converting measurements and et cetera in health science, then they're looking at the same thing, locating relevant information, and applying mathematic concepts to solve manufacturing problems. So throughout our TEKS, in all of our courses, this is how we support academics as well within our curriculum. As I walked around the classroom, I was encouraged to see in our cosmetology lab last Friday how Ms. Reyna was actually using, not using, but working with the science teacher and her cosmetology class. And together they were collaborating on infection control, nail structure and growth, skin structure, growth, and nutrition, and structure of the hair, and many others. And she told me that she's done extensive work with that teacher on the growth of bacteria, having students develop a skin cube to be able to identify the layers, et cetera. And these are the people that end up doing our hair and nails, et cetera. So we were excited to see that with her. The fifth one here that's up here is to support the integration of programs of study. So actually, I'm sorry, we'll be planning and carry out elements that support the implementation of CTE programs, and I hyphenate career and technical education with CTE, and that result in increasing student achievement of the local levels of performance. We encourage our CTE programs to be open for all students. We are very aware of all subpopulations. We have to track our subpopulation students, all of our students, and we have to see how they're doing on their end of course exams and how we can support that. So in addition to that, we also are included in the results-driven accountability, which comes up next year after a 2-year kind of a data gathering year as Perkins 5 grant, which is the 6 uses, has been in development over the last 2 years with data gathering. We also disaggregate the data, and we use Eduphoria on Data Suite, and also provide professional development and encourage teachers to attend Region 20 workshops and participate in their conferences. And number 6, develop and implement evaluations of the activities carried out with funds under this part, including evaluations necessary. So we work with Region 20, but also the Career and Technical Association of Texas, as we look at evaluating our program here in Harlandale to make sure that we're meeting all of the standards that are required. In our last meeting, actually in 2019-20, we developed what's called the Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment, or CLNA. And in this part, we have the CTE priorities that came up for the 2019-2020 CLNA, if you will. But we extended that, and the state asked that we use that for the 2 years, which means this spring, we will now update and develop a new comprehensive learning local needs assessment. And one of those, we want to involve stakeholders in the community as we do each month or each semester. We want community members, parents, students, teachers, campus administration and personnel, district personnel, and anyone from the institutes of higher education or 2-year and 4-year colleges. We looked at 5 priorities for our CTE programs in which we are continuing to work with. And these are the ones that are listed, such as expanding all programs of study in career and technical education, such as building the IT or information technology, STEM, and health pathways, with an increase in student recruiting and marketing in elementary through high school. The reason those 3 were put up there is because those are the top 3 labor market information careers in the Alamo region provided by TEA as part of our comprehensive local needs assessment data. That does not mean that those are the only 3, but we were to list those. Number 2 is to continue efforts to reach out to industry to build partnerships for work-based learning opportunities, in addition to partnerships with business and industry and institutes of higher education. And I forgot to mention that the numbers on the left in blue during the survey, those are the percentage of stakeholders that would agree with each of those statements. We also, number 3, retain and train teachers with relevant staff development and professional development opportunities through industry-guided conversations in the Harlandale ISD CTE Leadership Council, or better known with us is going to be the Workforce Bridging Committee that we have. next meeting, by the way, is coming up December 2nd. Number 4 is increase our dual credit opportunities for students in all CTE programs of study. Each year, I open the floor up to all of our teachers. I encourage them to look ahead and how can we get more dual credit opportunities for our students here in Alamo City with our Alamo Community College. And we continue to work within those parameters. So collaborate, the last one, again, as we mentioned earlier, is collaborate with academic core content teachers. And so those are our top 5 priorities that we've been utilizing for the last couple of years. And then, as I said, we would look at those to either expand or update. Which brings us to our Lone Star Governance Board goal for career and technical education. So with the progress measure 1.1, we have the percent of students enrolled in and on track in a CTE industry certification program will increase from 6% to 10% by 2022. So there are a couple of different ways to answer this. And so when I look at this, and we've been working with this for the last few years, is how many students are going in a coherent sequence or in a program of study, and will they eventually earn an industry certification? And those are the big key points, of course. So we look back at the data, in this case from 2018-19, 2019-20, and then last year, 2021. This was under the increase in the percentage of students receiving, for the goal 3 is to increase in the percentage of students receiving CCMR credit in the accountability system. And this will be one of the strategies to help us do that. The data analyzed from the 2018-19 school year, last year, it was the last year in the state where the 2017-18 industry-based certification list of 74 opportunities or certification opportunities were presented for the first time by the state. So 2017-18, 18-19. Beginning in 1920, this was the first year with over 245 industry-based certification opportunities and initiation of programs of study, instead of calling them pathways, now programs of study through TEA, within our career clusters. And those 245 certifications help to expand opportunities in more of our programs of study. These same opportunities have been available for 2021 and now this year, and looking ahead in 2022, 23, they are currently reviewing to update those to increase the number, sunset some of them, or revamp. And that's with the state, with teacher input across the state. So some of the strategies to support that I also included in our district improvement plan to support this performance objective is 1, to consider and explore additional programs of study options to include HVAC, electrical, welding, plumbing, along with aviation, with additional certification opportunities for interested students. We want to look at improved student outcomes with real-world hands-on experience and preparation for high-skill, high-wage, and in-demand jobs. Strategy number 2 includes increased involvement of secondary partners, post-secondary partners, and employer and industrial partners in the development, implementation, and programming of our programs of study to offer experiences outside of the classroom. Our third strategy is to look at providing opportunities, professional development, and collaboration with academic teachers to build a rigorous curriculum in CTE classes to increase student overall academic success. Strategy 4 is to provide the opportunity for professional development and collaboration with our CTE team members in the same career cluster to work in our professional learning communities as we begin developing common formative assessments in this year, 21-22. And our last one for our strategy to help support this goal, Lone Star Governance Board goal, is to retain and train teachers with relevant staff development and professional development opportunities. New to the profession teachers will be assigned an additional teacher mentor for CTE specific support on campus. And that's in addition to the mentor assigned to them from the campus. So looking at this, and you can see on the screen, you have 4 different columns, 21, 22, obviously being now to the far right. 2018-19 was our last year that was quote unquote normal, if you will. So we looked at the total number of enrolled high school students from our traditional high schools, early college, Frank Tejeda Academy. Total was 4,098 students. We looked at total enrolled students in CTE courses, any and everybody totally enrolled. We also looked at the total enrollment of students in the coherence sequence of CTE courses. Back in 2018-19, campus counselors were also looking at those students and working with them on their graduation plans and coding them as 0, 1, or 2. A 0 means a student was never in CTE. A 1, the student may have taken one CTE course or was currently in one course. And a 2 was a student was taking a coherent sequence based on intent. So they intended to finish their 4-year plan, whether they were in CTE or had taken CTE courses. 2 or more courses for 3 or more credits would allow them to be labeled a 2. So they could project that I'm going to take it when I'm a junior and senior and finish out. So that was what they looked at as intent. That's what the state looked at. So the percentage of students, and I took the percentage of students in a coherent sequence leading to an industry-based certification divided by the total enrolled high school students. And we come out with 70% of our students were in a coherent sequence to earn an industry-based certification. In 2019, we moved forward and the state was moving into, we're getting ready to do our Perkins 5 grant. We need you all to know that we're going to start looking at a different way. And as you will see on columns for 2020 and 21 and 22, you're going to see the enrollment, the coherent sequence change to verbiage such as completer, concentrator, and participant. And those codes there, 7, 6, and 4 is what they're using in PEAMS for reporting. And then we'll look at that in just a moment. So the same thing happened and we noticed an increase. And so we looked at this, and even though we had to go home March 6th, we still had an increase of 74% of our students, which is raising another 4 points that were earning a certification either before they took it or other methods, or they were doing it online. It was a little difficult because we were just starting with that and teachers were starting with their instructional strategies as best they could at that point. 2020-21 happens. We have a total enrolled high school students again. It starts to decline, as you can see. And then the enrollment for CTE courses miraculously kind of looks like it's going up just a bit. But also, we're now in our first year using the new system for accountability. So they went away from coherent sequence of intent to actually auto coding. So when they auto code them, they're actually pulling from their transcript of courses completed. And when the courses are completed and those are assigned to programs of study, that's when they know that those students are either a concentrator, a completer, or in most cases, when you start out as a freshman, you're a participant, that you've only taken 1 course or 2. So 2,500, a little over 2,500 students. As you can see from 1920 to 2021, our numbers started going down. And again, I attribute most of that with our COVID. I attribute that a lot of what we were doing asynchronous, synchronous learning. We had teachers working as hard as they could. We were going through Zoom. We were doing everything that we could to help our students at that point. But our coherent sequence, if you will, and it shouldn't say coherent sequence, but our coherent sequence students actually declined for 64%. So a lot of our students were not in that. You'll see them mostly in those courses, maybe just quick courses that they were taking just leading up to those 4-year plans, for example. And this year, I know we have a decline in enrollment. Again, COVID, I understand that, attrition rate, students moving, et cetera. But you also see a greater decline in the number of high school students that are in an IBC pathway. Unfortunately, I can't give you any data because they haven't completed it for the concentrator, completer, and participant until this summer and summer submission. And that's when we'll know how many students were actually coded in this direction. And we're hoping that those numbers are going up. And this has everything to do with the scheduling piece, and we'll go into that momentarily. And again, it's just to be determined at that point. This slide is just I did not mean for this to be a random slide, but just to know that this was shared with our stakeholders. And this is our top career clusters based on labor market information, based on our CLNA provided by the Texas Education Agency in support support of completing our Perkins 5 grant application. So when we look at our top 3, this was literally on a list, and it was information technology, STEM, and health science. All of these programs we offer in our district, in addition to all others that you see as you go down the list. We are very fortunate to be able to offer as many as we do and have the number of students that take those courses. With this, we ask that each teacher provide their own advisory committee meeting. So I might be doing a district advisory one with our workforce bridging committee for all of the community, anyone that's interested in attending. But we also ask teachers in their own career cluster to also provide an advisory committee meeting. We're more than happy to help them. It's new for them. Sometimes it's difficult because they're not used to doing that. So we provide agendas, sign-in sheets, how to do minutes, and then who to invite, how do you send out an invitation, and then help them with that so that they're a little bit more comfortable with it. And then after they get started, they really do get going pretty well. So we get valuable input from business and industry. We utilize surveys and evaluations to help improve our programs of study. We identify needed equipment and curriculum needs based on industry input. And we get input on building programs of study or sunsetting those that are not as large as others, or they seem to be just going away, and then looking at others that may need to be in the district. So just a little step moving away from that previous chart. This is a total enrollment comparison for grades 6 through 12, since we have CTE courses that are going from grades 6 through 12 up through high school. Well, as I mentioned, 6 through 12, but we have the enrollment comparisons from 2018-19. The light blue are the enrollments for the high schools as a total enrollment. And then you'll notice that you have the darker blue indicating the total CTE enrollment. And then by the percentages are of how many students in there are actually enrolled in CTE in grades 6 through 12. And as you can see, as the years come through, 2020, 21, 22, we see a decline in that, although they all still maintain a semblance of the year before. So the student, even though the student, there's equitable access to these programs and facilities, there has been that loss of learning or decline in it. And we understand that a lot of the students have had to be pulled out of their elective to go into academics so that they can take that course and or pass that course that they may not have been able to take, or maybe they weren't as successful last year as they could have been. So we understand that, and that's again another reason for the decline in those numbers. Okay. This was just a slide that I wanted to take from Texas Education Agency to show the difference in what we're looking at as far as accountability versus Perkins 5. With our TEA accountability, we're measuring, as you know, our college, career, and military readiness of all of our students. And career ready by TEA accountability is going to define it by attainment of an industry-based certification as one of the options that's available for that CCMR. Perkins 5 looks at it in support of that, but measures the quality of the program. So they're defining it by student performance on end of course exams. Do we know who our students are in sub-pops? Do we know which students may be struggling? How are we supporting that through our CTE programs? We work with English. We use authentic writing techniques, for example. We look at post-secondary placement. How many students move on, graduate, go into a 2-year, 4-year college? And we're still gathering that data. And then credential attainment, which one of those options is an industry-based certification. And again, the bottom keynote was from TEA, and that was what I'd mentioned earlier about intent versus actually getting the data from a student that completed their courses. So this is very hard to see, but hopefully you have it up on your screens. But the indicators, this just indicates what these items mean, moving from a district self-reported data through PEIMS to auto-calculate function using certified PEIMS course completion data. So using the Perkins 5 definitions of CTE concentrator and completer, those are the last 2 blanks on the page, or the white blanks that are showing. These are considered CTE learners by the state. CTE or non-CTE learners are those students that are either categorized as a participant or an explorer, or a non-CTE student. So they've started disaggregating their data and looking at the levers or the students who did well on tests, and by sub-pops, by graduation rates, and also by who was in which programs of study. When we look at a concentrator and a student is coded as 6, which will be good for our accountability as time moves on, the student completes, passes, and receives credit. Now, this is new. This is a little bit different from the non-learners because they don't say pass. It just says receives credit or took. The course receives credit in 2 or more CTE courses for at least 2 credits. And here's where that counseling piece comes in, and attention to that 4-year plan within the same program of study. So the conversation with our teachers has to happen in the classroom too, about which direction are we going in our program of study, what course is next. So we provide posters like this to all of our teachers to hang up so they can define that with our students. We provide the program of study posters that you see in the catalog with information for work-based learning, for student organizations student can belong to, if they need 2-year, 4-year colleges. And all of this was provided by TEA from their website. And we use our print shop to print one for each teacher in their career cluster. This way they can help our students see what they need to do next and meet those prerequisites if needed. Completer is number 7, and this will be the last one I go through. I won't go through all of those because I know you can see those too, but the completer is our ultimate. It also fulfills the piece with an endorsement too. So it gets twofold. So the student who completes, passes, receives credit in 3 or more CTE courses for at least 4 credits, including 1 level 3 or 4. That translates to, did they take the junior level or senior level in our minds course in that program of study? At least one of those courses to end it out with those credits. And again, within the same program of study. But the state still left the option, the student can change their mind at any time. But the conversation still has to be had with the student, the counselor, and the parent. Is this the direction you would like to go? And if they want to, well, then of course, we want to honor that request. Lots of changes. So here's the second part that goes with your pathways. So students in a coherent sequence, and now let's look at industry-based certification pass rates for the year. This is one indicator within the student achievement domain of the state's public school accountability system that I'd mentioned earlier. When you look at 2018-19, again, you have to think our last normal year, so to speak. But this year, we only had 74 industry-based certifications to actually choose from. 923. So we took every course, and if you look at our catalog and you look on our website, we have every course tied to an industry certification with teacher input. So the teachers tell me, when I ask them, they tell me which course this certification should be married to. And we put it there so that students know and parents know, the community knows. So we took those courses and we took the data from OnData Suite and we added up those numbers. And then you'll see that on the next 4 slides after this one. So in 2018-19, with 74 opportunities, you had 923 students that were enrolled in courses that have an industry-based certification. The total students that were tested out of that were only 43%, or 398 of those students, which lends you to know that total students that were not tested were 57% of our students. And that's where we need to make the improvement. The test needs to be given in the class. The student may or may not want to take the test. The students may opt out of the test. The tests are not required. But in conversation and through our PLCs and looking at what we need to have available for them, it's a communication, it's part of our syllabus. This is what you'll do at the end of the course. But tied with that is teacher preparation, because the industry certification course is much more rigorous than what the state requires us to do in our Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. It's a great way to prepare for that with our TEKS, But as we go with their TEKS, we have to know what the standards or objectives are for the industry certification. Wrap our TEKS around those standards and prepare for what we still need more on. We encourage our teachers to take the industry certification test. We provide the vouchers. We provide the funding for that. We purchase vouchers. We purchase the prep material, and we encourage every one of them to do that each year. If they need to do it more than once, they can. But usually we tell them, if you haven't taken the test, let us know when. But that's in this instruction piece, and that affects the number of students that may or may not feel confident in taking the test, or maybe the student just doesn't want to. I'm not interested. I'm just in here to see what this course is about. And that's part of it too. There were 179 industry-based certifications earned in 2018-19. So out of earned versus tested, that's 45%. In 2019-2020, remember that's when a new list of 245 industry certifications came up. And you'll notice that in this year, and unfortunately COVID hit us in the spring, we had over 1,100 students enrolled in industry-based certification courses. And the total students tested, again, COVID hits, most of our industry certification tests are at the end of the year. You had 321 students, or 27%, which means we know 73% did not get the opportunity to take the test. However, the testing was made available. We went and put flyers on the doors in the summer to let them know about medical assisting, for example. I don't know if you might remember that, or maybe you heard that. But we did that to make sure that those students knew about that certification, just that one, because that piece there, we knew that we had interest in students still taking it. The teachers were still working with them, although remotely. And then we had that opportunity up through August 31st of 2020 to be able to complete that. And that was per the state. So 39% came out, earned, and tested of all the industry-based certifications. In 2020-21, even though we had 1,300 students, and that's this past year, we had all these students that are enrolled in the IBCs, 22% were tested, 78%, they were not tested. Some were at home. As you can imagine, if you're in BIM, for example, and you're taking a Microsoft Office certification test and you were issued a Chromebook, which is what we did. We also issued out laptops as well. We had teachers request laptops that were higher end, like for animation or AutoCAD, which we purchased. But we also had to take into account that there was a backlog around the nation in getting those materials in, and we had that same problem, but we got them in pretty quick, usually by January, February, which was fast compared. So we were appreciative of our IS department in helping us to get those items. So when the teachers had those and the kids came up and they could use that, they may not be able on BIM, for example, you can't download Microsoft Office on the Chromebook. So you really are kind of short a little bit as far as meeting all the bells and whistles that are required on the IBC certification. That's just one example. And then others, they may or may not have been able to come up. Maybe their parents didn't want them to come up, a whole myriad of different reasons, which were all valid. So we did what we could and supported in as many ways as we could. So again, the earned and tested, we come out with 44%. This data here, and I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but I broke this out, disaggregated the data for you, or in conjunction, and looking at the courses in the first column. Some of these cells are merged in the second because the certification is offered in more than one course. And then we took data from the past in 2018-19. So you'll see on the first column, this is the total number of students on the roster. And this was for all of these courses combined. And then in the second column, you're looking at the percent tested and those that were enrolled. So 5 out of 22 in this first case tested in Photoshop. which looks like 23%. It is. And then we looked at the percent tested and those that actually passed it. So 6 out of those 22 that tested passed, that's 27%. And so we had 6 IBCs earned, or industry-based certifications earned out of those 22 students. Do we have room to grow? Of course we do. And that's what we keep doing. In 2019-20, and I just put up their COVID year, and then you can see 2021 face-to-face. I don't have any data for you for this year yet. It's too early. And you can look at the next slide. And the same thing for each course, the number of students and how many were tested, passed, how many certifications were earned, matched up to each course offered. I did leave off the course number, but I knew you would know what the course was without it. And then the third slide, and keep in mind, these are different. So what we understand is you have a medical assisting certification class. You take them once, right? You take the course, it's $155 per test. If you become, or you take the phlebotomy test to become a phlebotomy technician, it's $117. Whereas you go to auto tech and you do automotive service excellence and it's $40 and the student can take the test twice. You can do serve safe food manager. You get a one-shot opportunity. It's about $17 each. If you look at Microsoft Office, you have a one time to take it and a time to retake it. It's $7 a test. So they all are varied throughout. There's not really a consistency on pricing, which was not a concern. I don't want you to misunderstand that. That's not a concern, but just looking at the opportunities available for each one is different. So it just depends on what they're taking or which class they're taking that for. So when you look at the total numbers, like education and aid, as you come through on the last slide, the last 2 rows, you'll notice where you see things where it's not applicable or it doesn't apply, or the industry certification NA or is not offered, whatever it might be. That actually came about in the last 2 years. So it was in 2019-20 when the Educational Aid 1 certification became available. And that was given through Harlandale High School and McCollum High School. And this one, there is no test. You pay for the fingerprinting, you pay for the teacher certification in our teacher certification system through TEAL. And just like if I were to become a teacher, I would have to enter my certification in it and pay the $17 to become an educational aide. But what I had to do as a student is I had to either take my senior level or junior level course, plus I had to take another course before that in the same program of study for 3 credits with a 70 average or better. Ask Mr. Soto to please sign the form letters, and then we send that off. So we have that on file for our HR department then. And we had one student that did apply in the district and was hired at Leal Middle School a couple of years back. And so that's certainly a way to grow your own, but we of course need to continue to expand on that. So the next slide, looking forward and how we're going to increase our students or increase the industry-based certifications. I was very purposeful in what I put on each one of these bullet points, and I wanted to go through those because I honestly believe that this is going to continue to help us do even better. So we want to continue to provide the resources to teachers on industry certification, the prep materials especially. Vendors almost have it where they can lay that out and do a timeline with teachers as they're teaching the material. They have access to lesson planning, a texascte.org website that shows TEKS, scope and sequence, and courses and programs of study. And then we have the vendors that are outside, again, with those rigorous tests that are a step above what we are required to teach by the state, that we have to wrap our teaching around and amp it up. We also want to continue to provide opportunities for teachers to take the industry certification tests that students will take to examine to make sure that they examine standards required. If the teacher knows that how we're teaching that, using the same verbiage, using the same language as what's on the test, which is exactly what's happening with our EOC and our core content, it's the same thing, just a different way of looking at a test. We're going to continue to provide professional learning community training or PLC training. We do cover the substitutes that are made available, and we appreciate every campus that helps us with that, because I know substitutes are hard to find. But we ask our teachers to come out once a month for a half a day, and we ask them to work together in the team within their career cluster so that they can prepare for this and work on those common assessments. By doing that, they're actually talking to each other and helping to prepare for that next part, for that student to pass industry certification or do even better on their end of course exam and support rigorous academics in the process. We want to invest in teachers through mentoring, CTE specific mentors. All first year teachers are those that need additional assistance. Have a teacher mentor assigned, as I mentioned earlier, in addition to the campus mentor for teachers. We were awarded the Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Supports Grant recently, and we're going to move forward with this and to improve and grow students in the education and training courses that I just mentioned earlier. With this, it's going to be something that where we have to increase the CTE student organizations offered, such as TAFE or Texas Association of Future Educators and FCCLA, and I don't ever remember the acronym, but I have it on the last slide so you can see it, and provide dual credit opportunities. It's so important that we can offer that in this part of it for education and training students, and also encourage interested paraprofessionals to become certified as an education aide. A stipend will be provided to education and training teachers per the Texas Education Agency's guidelines on this grant, and it varies depending on which area that we look at. Next, we want to invest in teachers through common assessment planning. We've invested over $43,000 this year with Solution Tree as a consultant. We went through our stakeholders, our district advisory committee, to make sure that they were in agreement with this, because we run most of what we do and courses and programs of study with that group. And we want to be sure we get their input with that. And there was definitely a common resounding yes. And that's what we've been working on. And our teachers are taking to it very well. And they have enjoyed the training with our Solution Tree vendor, and also working with our district personnel to enter information into Eduphoria for common assessments, just like the core content, and to analyze those questions. So that's what we're currently working on, and to help them have team planning opportunities. We want to invest in pre and post test opportunities, and that's coming up, and share that at a later time, with outside vendors specific to courses offered to show growth in our student achievement throughout the year. And this will have a direct effect on our upcoming, for CTE anyway, teacher incentive allotment. So in all of this, I want to be sure to help prepare our teachers so that they can participate in that as well. So continue to provide funds for industry certification tests taken by students. And I feel that we have such a budget, and we're very well outfitted as far as being able to purchase equipment and resources for our teachers, that we can now look up to at least 2 times per year to offer that certification. So in other words, the medical assistant test, $155. Let's look at, can we offer that? And yes, a second time, but we have to show that the student has been given the work by the teacher, and it's teacher led to help prepare them, because it doesn't do us any good just to take it again to see if you do well. So we need to have some measures in place, which that'll be upcoming and discussions ensue. So continue work with campus administration in the IBC process, or industry-based certification process, and testing. The testing on campus, and again, all high schools have just been wonderful at helping us with that, and using proctors as dictated per test, and teachers and CTE can move between each other as they do that. And then sharing of data, etc. How we've marketed is, I mentioned earlier, you have Facebook Live. We've done this with each of our career clusters. I mentioned that at the beginning. We participate, and I encourage middle school and high school both to do the same thing. The district family night in fall and spring. Each career cluster and the middle school CTE teachers are encouraged to be part of this. We also invest in Region 20 set of career posters. Maybe you've seen those sometimes hanging in the elementaries or also in middle schools, but we are currently getting those updated with our new logo and putting those back out to our elementary and middle schools. For middle school and high school, we provide an endorsement booklet to each middle school and high school campus teacher, as well as counselors. This is a quick way to look at our career clusters. We have it in both English and Spanish. We also include that on our website so that you have easy access to it from home. We send out a CTE postcard mailer to let them know about our different career clusters. And that's for all of our parents. I went directly to the parents of and student's name. In grades 6 through 11, there's a QR code on the back so that you can actually access our website fairly quickly and then look at the different pathways that we have. And then new this past year is I sent out an 8th grade letter to all of our parents and students from the CTE office to remind them to please consider the career pathways or programs of study, career clusters that are available. But don't forget to review all electives and make sure that you look at the rigorous coursework that's available in our district for all of our students so that they can complete their 4-year plans. So we want to look at the whole student. So the CTE programs of study are going to help them with their passion and their pathway, but we want to look at the whole student with academics as well. For elementary schools, last year, we actually reached down into 5th grade. And my staff, actually, I had nothing to do with this, but they came up with Exploring Careers with Harley and Dale. So we provided a little kind of a coloring book in conjunction with the Texas Workforce Commission. And we had permission from them. And then we sent copies of these down to the 5th grade. And although we had maybe some low enrollment at those levels sometimes, we still sent them down. And so we had for each of our 5th grade classes for our students, we sent CTE pens or pencils actually down to our 5th graders and middle schools with pens with the CTE logos on them, et cetera. And that was all in celebration of CTE month towards the middle to end of year. We also sent a word search for 5th graders, like locating some basic careers. And again, the QR code is there, and we're going to revamp this so it has the newer logo. And then we did, again, the poster set that I mentioned. So our professional development opportunities, teachers are encouraged, and I encourage them every year, and I do want them to take advantage of that. We reimburse them or we pay for their travel, their hotel, the registration. We ask them to go to their professional learning conferences. We ask them to take those opportunities at Region 20. The same holds true with campus administration and counselors. Those opportunities are available to go to those professional development for CTE, and that's part of what your funding or our funding is used for. We want them to attend workshops, Region 20 trainings. We want our teachers especially to listen to other professionals in their fields, to learn the newer topics and not just stay right where they are. We want them to go, and we encourage that. We are part of the co-op commitment with Region 20 to help reduce the cost of workshops. And we also have someone that comes out and they meet with us 6 times a year in our office, and we talk about the direction that we're going as another source of input. And here's the acronyms for all of what I've just mentioned for the FCCLA, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. You'd think I'd know that by now, but I don't, but I'm trying. So the rest of this are just some examples of conferences and groups that they can be part of. And in addition to that, we do encourage our teachers to be a sponsor for a career and tech student organization, Business Professionals of America, Skills USA. Any of those, for example, are wonderful for our students to take a leadership role, to compete with others and meet networking with others in other districts. And so we do encourage that in our district as well. And I thank you all for your continued support.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Anderson? I know that was a lot of information, but is there anything anybody wants to add or ask right now? Mr. Moreno?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is an inordinate amount of information to say the least, so thank you for being so thorough. I do have some things that I'd like to just clarify. CCMR is huge for all of us here. That's why the emphasis has been put on making that one of our goals related to Harlandale ISD. You mentioned something about clarify. I wanted you to clarify like the decline in the numbers based on being taken out of the elective. So are we taking students out in the middle schools or the high schools to prepare for the EOCs and the like algebra, end of course, all that stuff, and not middle schools, or what are we doing?
No, actually, and I want to make sure I heard you correct. It's kind of hard to understand. I'm sorry,
Sure.
but I wanted to, in our middle schools, we have not reached down as far as helping prepare without the OCs, but I will tell you that we have our middle school teachers invited to our PLCs that work as a team. And so that is including in their TEKS, whatever is involved, or in their TEKS as well, then that's how they're supporting those students. Because we do ask them, like, for example, to do authentic writing opportunities to help them prepare. Because if they're looking at their English 1, English 2, and writing, as we know, those are usually lower in districts all around the area. And we want to know better ways to do it. So we do encourage them in writing, for example, and then hopefully that's helping to understand word problems in algebra and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, because I just wasn't quite sure if you were saying we were doing like a blitz or something, and we're saying we're going to focus on the electives as a way to make up the time or make up the effort to prepare for a test, for a content test. So that's where I kind of I took that under the impression of that way. The other thing is because I know when we're looking at career ready, we're looking at what the TAs requesting in terms of information. And then I know you referenced the Perkins 5. Is the Perkins 5, is that the standard that we're going to be assessed by, or are we still being assessed by the indicators listed in TA? Because then, I really want to know so we know what the domains we're going to be hitting and things like that. Because if you're saying it the way kind of how you referred to career ready is defined by the attainment of the IBC, and then Perkins 5 is the CTE standard performance, EOCs, post-secondary placement, credential attainment. If we're just doing on the Perkins 5, I think we're in a good standing. If we're looking at it based on career ready, then I don't think where we need to be.
So when we do with Perkins 5, in order for us to spend the federal funding.
That's supplemental, right?
It is. It's in addition, but we get that each year in addition to what we have with our state funding. And the state funding is where we get the 55% from. The federal funding with Perkins, they have guidelines for us to follow as any grant. And so we have to follow that in addition to helping prepare students for CCR.
Yeah, and I think, I appreciate the amount of information in relation to the reasoning why, perhaps we're not where we need to be in terms of testing. Not all tests are required. The rigor is more extensive versus perhaps our TEKS that are listed. I know we as a board have done our part in what's been suggested by our superintendent and our team in providing those incentives in terms of getting the quality instructors for you guys. I hope you guys can note that too next time in terms of what we're doing to support, whether it's the stipends or, going DOI in order to support some of these aspects. Because I know it's difficult with when you're looking at the percentage that you're testing, it makes sense how it aligns. But when you look at the total number, it's difficult. But as you said, I don't want to set a kid up for failure and then take a test that they're not prepared for. And I know a lot of that has been due to not to the face-to-face instruction, the lack of certain devices, the inability to find certain personnel. And I know we're looking at other clusters as well, but I don't want to move forward, me personally, to other clusters if we're not doing something right already in terms of other aspects of it, because that might just spread this out too thin. But maybe we need to reaffirm or reassess and reevaluate what we need to do and what's best for our kids and what's available to them. So perhaps maybe looking at different aspects, even with the stuff that you mentioned with HVAC and the welding, I mean, those are things that we can definitely bring in and expand on, but maybe just have to make sure we monitor it as you guys have been doing. So I appreciate you guys being so thorough, and hopefully tell us what else we need to do to support you guys, because that's our main focus is the college ready or the career ready for sure as well.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Castleberry.
Ms. Anderson, I have a question about the industry tests for teachers. I think I heard you say multiple times that you've encouraged teachers. Why is there not a requirement after 2 or 3 years of encouragement?
When we look at this, I know that students, and without getting too much into it in areas that I may not be as well versed in with EOCs, et cetera, and I know students are required to do that, but in order for them to pass the class, they do not have to take the industry certification. It's not a requirement in their TEKS. It's available, and yes, we could make that a requirement, but that might be something to look at. But at this point, that's not a part of our Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills to pass the test unless we make that a district initiative or local decision. If I'm correct.
Well, I was talking about for the teachers.
For the what? I'm sorry.
For the staff.
Oh,
not. for
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
students.
I misunderstood. No, yes, I agree. And I think that our next step is to make that, which sooner than later, is you need to take it now. Yeah.
With some more information, I'm sure he'll put something together for you guys.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? I actually do have a question, and I don't know whether this is something that can become available or not. But just as you told us, how many took a test, how many passed, is there a way that you can provide us with the number of teachers that have taken the certification test, at least based on these years?
Yes, ma'am. I have available to me and to my department in our office. We can look at based on the vendor printout, which is where I get the results of all tests. And if the teacher is taking that, then their name will show up, just like one of the students.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if you can share that with the board.
I will.
I'm just curious as to
Sure.
the number. Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. Okay, thank you, Ms. Anderson. Moving on to agenda item C. Mr. Mancha, you think you're up to reading agenda item C? No problem. Mr. Luna, you want to take on reading? Yes, 5C. I apologize. 5C. Yes, sir.
All right, now 5C reads, the board will consider individual members' fidelity to board constraints for the purpose of revisiting board constraints on a monthly basis. Board constraint number 2, the board shall not collectively or individually violate any board policy or board operation procedure.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Moving on to agenda item 5D, enrollment status. Is that Ms. Veraza?
Thank you. There we go. So as of today, our enrollment is 12,074 students. That's as compared to last year, it's 96.46%. In our work session, you had asked for a report on the difference with the 51 students. So I think all of you have a sheet where it's broken down into what districts the students either went to or came from. And we also discussed the procedures for the social workers. So that is in your board book now. I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Veraza. Any comments or questions for Ms. Veraza? Nope, I think we're good, Ms. Veraza.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 6, consent items.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Moreno.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion. I move to approve items A through K as listed.
A through K. Give me 1 second. Is there a second on Mr. Moreno's motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Limon. Is there any need for any discussion on any of those consent items from my colleagues? Okay, then I'm going to move forward with the vote. This is on agenda item 6, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. Ms. Limon?
Yay.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Luna?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Mancha?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Moreno?
Yay, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Ortiz?
Yay.
And myself, yay. So agenda item 6, A through K passes. Moving on to agenda item 7A. As you know, the board takes quarterly self-evaluations, and it is that time again. On vision and goals, number 1, the board has adopted student outcome goals. That's according to LSG, our training. Last quarter, we were at Meets Focus. We should be moving over to Masters Focus. We have committed the vision and student outcome goals. We do know the current status of each student outcome goal. However, what's keeping us to move on to Masters Focus is that we have yet have had a broad community ownership of the board's vision and student outcome goals through involvement and communication with students, staff, and community members. We are going to move forward. I know we have been talking to Mr. Soto about getting community engagement through either town hall meetings or having some of our staff and board members attend some PTAs. We are hoping to do that soon. We're working on that. I know it sounds like that's what we say every time, but we really are working on that. We're just, we're getting closer every time. So we are still at Meets Focus on vision and goals number 1.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Moreno.
Well, I know you kind of referred to that. I know I've asked Mr. Soto. Mr. Soto, can you give us an idea? I mean, do we have to coordinate it or are you needing to coordinate it?
This is, I believe it's board led. You just need to let me know when and where, and then we can solidify the place. I know we had some things that we wanted to present to the community December. So you would be able to have some talking points besides student achievement. But if you guys want to do it before that December meeting, just let me know.
So we can ideally consider maybe December as a target.
The information that's going to come from the bond is going to be probably the December 16th board meeting.
Okay.
And we go on the holidays, December 20th. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else from any of my colleagues? Okay. Vision and goals 2. We, last quarter, were at Meets Focus. And what's keeping us from moving to Masters Focus is the broad community ownership of the GPMs through involvement and communication with students, staff, and community members. We are getting closer. December is around the corner. So we are getting closer at that. On Vision 3, we are still at meets focus. That's where we were last quarter. And again, that broad community ownership of the constraints through involvement and communication with student, staff, and community members is what's keeping us at to reach master's focus. Vision and goals number 4. We are still at meets focus like we were last quarter. Again, what is keeping us from moving forward to master's focus is broad community ownership of the CPMs through involvement and communication with students, staff, and community members. We're going to have a lot of moving forward in December. On progress and accountability 1. Last quarter, we were at approaches focus, and that was 10% or more of the total quarterly minutes in board authorized public meetings were invested in improving student outcomes according to the time use tracker. According to the time use tracker, we are at 32%. So we have moved up this quarter to meets focus on the total quarterly minutes in board authorized public meetings were invested in improving student outcomes according to the time use tracker. That time use tracker was provided to us by our LSG coach, and we are at meets focus. So we did move up to meets focus from last quarter, we moved up. Now, if we spend 50% or more total quarterly minutes, then we can go to master's focus. That's our next goal. That's our next goal, next quarter. On progress and accountability 2, I'm going to need my colleagues to help me out with this. We were last quarter at preparing to focus. Approaches focus. Are we there yet? Have we moved up to that? And that is the board approaches focus if all prior conditions and the following are true. The board performs self-evaluations using the LSG integrity instrument, which we do. Performed a self-evaluation no more than 45 days prior to the most recent superintendent's evaluation. We did that on August 16th. Evaluates the superintendent in part on the results and progress toward the student outcome goals and constraints using information within monitoring reports according to the monitoring calendar. And we did that superintendent evaluation on September 14th. So if we were at preparing to focus a quarter ago, we certainly are at approaches focus. We did move up there. This is where I need my colleagues to help me out. Are we at meets focus? So in order for us to meet focus, have we met all prior conditions and the following? The board receives at least annually a report on the average cost of staff time spent on governance using the staff use tracker. Anybody?
Yeah, I don't think we've utilized that, correct? I mean, because that's typically when they're making board requests, Madam Chair.
Well, yes, and thank you for bringing that up because I brought that up earlier. Mr. Soto?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Mr. Moreno, I believe it's the form, as you said, is when a board of trustee asks for information. Ms. Patty gets with the AAs from each department and they track the time the staff is utilized and puts a dollar amount and then they post to our website. So we do that.
Okay, so then we're already there. I didn't know that was considered the same thing versus, because I know we report that to TA either way, right?
I believe it is recommended that we post it on our website. Yeah, I'm not sure we report that to TA.
No, sir.
But we do post
Resendez?
it.
Yeah, posting it on your website, but reporting it to TA. I don't
It's
believe
only
so.
if it goes excessively beyond a certain amount, right?
I'll
Yes,
have
sir,
to
I
double
believe
check
so.
that.
Because
but
I remember that was something that was referred to.
You are
from the board,
correct, Mr. Moreno,
Right?
because we had one issue with one ex-board member that we had to
We had to let TA know. Other than that, we don't have to let TA know, long as it gets posted.
On the website, okay.
Yes, sir, you're correct.
Thank you, Mr. Mancha.
So we are doing that right now. So again, I need help from my colleagues. 1 quarter ago, the board performed a self-evaluation using the LSG integrity instrument. We did our self-evaluation in August, so that was 1 quarter ago. And 2, did we vote to approve the quarterly progress tracker 1 quarter ago? We did in September. Our meeting in September, I went over that. So not only were we last quarter at preparing to focus, this quarter we moved to approaches focus because we have met all of those under that. And we also moved up to meets focus. So we were at a 1. This quarter we moved to a 2, and this quarter we also moved to a 4. So yes, applause, applause. And funny you say that, Mr. Soto. He said, you want to check masters. I wasn't sure if we have done it because it says the board unanimously approved the current quarterly progress report. Has not modified outcome goals, GPMs, constraints, CPMs, or targets during the cycle applicable to the annual superintendent evaluation. We have not modified them, not that I recall. Anybody want to correct me on that? No? Okay. And has the board considers superintendent performance as indistinguishable from system performance by evaluating the superintendent on only results and progress toward student outcome goals and constraints using information in monitoring reports according to the monitoring calendar. Mr. Moreno?
I guess to be quite honest, I mean, I would say maybe once January or February hits, but I know the last time we didn't have the necessary data to go align with it, right? Or
we were waiting for some data, I believe. Is that correct? Ms. Casey, do you recall?
So I know we decided to do the evaluations based on, you know, working towards the progress measure, I think, as Dr. Castleberry had referred to. So
that's correct. So we only need 1 to get to master's focus, and we are hoping to be there next quarter. But we did move up from preparing to focus. We moved up to approaches focus, and we moved to meets focus. So that is a big deal for the board. So thank you for getting us there. On advocacy and engagement, we were last quarter at does not meet focus. We were unfortunately not able to move to preparing focus because we do need that 2-way communication system that we need to put in place for the community to listen for and discuss the visions and values of their students, and listen for and discuss the vision and values of their staff and community members. So that is what's keeping us from going from does not meet focus to preparing to focus. So last quarter we were at does not meet focus, and we are still there. We will be moving forward. On system and processes, we were last quarter at meets focus, and we did not move up to master's focus because our meetings are not an average of 2 hours per meeting. But if we can get there, folks, we will be at master's focus. We have improved, but we're not quite at an average of 2 hours per meeting.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
may
Yes,
I
Mr.
ask,
Moreno.
just to clarify, in addition to what you kind of referred to, is the 2 hours just the actual meeting or also closed session, just so I can be
Not
reminded?
closed session.
So
Yes,
just
not
the
closed session,
actual,
just the
okay.
actual open session.
Okay.
Is what, yes. But we have been getting better. We have been getting better. On the next one, it is synergy and teamwork. Last quarter, we were at master's focus. And I'm going to ask each of you to let me know whether or not we as a board have done this. Last quarter, we were at Master's Focus, and that means that the board Master's Focus if all prior conditions in the following are true. All board members and the superintendent have completed the Lone Star Governance Workshop, which we have. Everybody has completed it. Even Mr. Luna, yes, Mr. Luna, yes. Have we all board members, do we agree that we have adhered to all adopted board constraints during the previous 3 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do we agree that no board member has given operational advice or instructions to staff members during the previous 3 months?
Yes, ma'am. We agree.
Okay, then we are still at Master's Focus. We want to remain there. We do not want to go, we don't want to take steps back. We want to take steps forward. So in looking at our quarterly progress tracker, 1 quarter ago on visions and goals, we were at a 12. This current quarter, we remain at a 12. On vision and goals 2, last quarter, we were at a 12. Current quarter, we're at a 12. Vision and goals 3, last quarter, we were at a 9. We are at a 9 as well this quarter. Visions and goals 4, 1 quarter ago, we were at a 4. We remain at a 4. Progress and accountability. 1 quarter ago, we were at a 4. We are now at a 12. So we moved up 2. So yes, that's very good for us. Very good for us. Progress and accountability number 2. I should have kept that one and I didn't. Last quarter, we were at a 1. And we have moved to a 4. We were at approaches. We were at a 1, preparing to focus. Approaches focus is what we reached. And we did also reach meets focus. So we're at a 4 when it comes to progress and accountability number 2. System and processes, we were at a 12 last quarter. We remain at a 12. Advocacy and engagement, it's those community engagement meetings that we need. We were at a 0 a quarter ago. We remain at a 0. Synergy and teamwork, a quarter ago, we were at 10. Master's focus, and we are still at a 10 this quarter. Do I have a motion on agenda item 7?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the board Lone Star Governance Quarterly Self-Evaluation.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. I will second you on that motion. Is there any discussion before I go forward with the vote from my colleagues? Okay, we will move forward with the vote. Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay on agenda item 7A?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Moreno, yay or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Mancha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Luna, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Ms. Limon, yay or nay? Yay. Thank you. And myself, yay. So agenda item 7A passes by us accepting our quarterly board self-evaluation from LSG. Agenda item B. If I remember correctly, well, is there a motion for agenda item 7B?
I move to consider and approve revisiting the board operating procedures 2-minute limit for discussion.
Is there a second? A second. Thank you. I'm going to open it for discussion. I know that we discussed whether or not work sessions and budget sessions would be included. And so I move to table agenda item 7B and revisit it in our December regular board meeting.
Second, ma'am, and may I add, I guess, is it just because we didn't have Ms. McAnally here to
Exactly.
provide some guidance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That would be the case. Yes. So that way we can have her here in our December regular board meeting and she can explain to us with a little bit more clarity. And that way it'll help us start with that. So I am going to take the vote on my motion to table agenda item B. Do I need to do that, Mr. Resendes?
It looked like Dr. Castleberry may have wanted to
Yes,
say
Dr.
something.
Castleberry, I'm sorry.
I apologize.
So, will we follow the 2-minute limit procedure this evening?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes. Until we visited in December and then we discussed with Linda McAnally or Ed, our coaches for Lone Star Governance, yes. So can I move forward with the vote now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I apologize. If I'm not wearing my glasses, I don't see too well. So I'm going to take the vote on tabling agenda item 7B and revisiting in our regular agenda board meeting in December. Ms. Limon, yay or nay? Yay. Thank you. Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Moreno, yay or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Mr. Mancha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Luna, yay or nay?
Yay.
And myself, yay. So we are going to table agenda item 7B and revisit it in our December regular board meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve the board constraint during a board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. I think I need clarification on that. And well, let me second that motion and then I'll open it for discussion. I believe, unless I'm completely wrong, is that agenda item 7C is for that added language that I had suggested. Now, I understand we were all kind of, okay, or, on board with it, no pun intended. But I think for purposes of being clear and transparent with ourselves, for ourselves and for the community, I would like to revisit that in December as well, when Linda McAnally is here. That way, if anybody has any questions as to the language and the wording, she can tell us that it does. It falls in place with our LSG training, our leadership roles, and that way we can have it as concise as possible so that we don't go over minutes, but that everybody is understanding what we're trying to say with that language.
So, Madam Chair, I guess I'll I rescind my motion.
Okay.
Is
So-
that all right to say, Mr. Resendes, or retract, or?
Well, that's fine.
Okay.
So I would like to move to table agenda item 7C and revisit it in our December regular board meeting. Is there a second for that?
I second.
Thank you. Any more discussion on that, or can I move forward with the vote? Okay, let me move with a vote. Mr. Luna, yay or nay to table agenda item 7C and revisit it in our December regular board meeting?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Mancha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Ms. Limon, yay or nay? Yay. Mr. Moreno, yay or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you, myself, yay. So we will table agenda item 7C and revisit it in December regular board meeting. Agenda item 7D.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I approve to take appropriate actions to approve the annual financial report for the year ended June 30th, 2021, as presented by Garza Gonzalez and Associates.
Is there a second on Ms. Limon's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Mancha. Do we need to open it for discussion? Okay, then I will move forward with the vote. Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay on agenda item 7D?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Mancha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Ms. Limon, yay or nay? Mr. Moreno, yay or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Mr. Luna, yay or nay?
That's a nay.
And myself, yay. So agenda item 7D passes.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
on agenda item 7E, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I move to adopt a resolution to authorize an additional compensation of $400 to the previously approved retention stipend compensation of $600 for all full-time employees, which will be paid in 2 event installments in December 2021 and May 2022. Funding will be additional $311,600 from the general fund and child nutrition fund balance and $618,000 from ESSER 3.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm gonna apologize because I didn't think about it when Ms. Ortiz first made the motion. I know we have particular motion language. Go ahead, Mr.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the reason, Mr. Resend is, there's just some stipulations on some of the dates.
Does the resolution, does it have the dates that you need, sir?
Yes, sir, it does.
And it talks
So the-
about who qualifies for that.
Yes,
So-
ma'am, it does.
So that
Okay.
we're clear and transparent with our community and our staff. May
Ms.
I
Ortiz-
have Ms.
Ms. Ortiz.
Ortiz?
Yep,
Uh,
that's a good idea. That way
okay.
we're exactly what the resolution
Okay,
is seeking to accomplish.
Ms. Ortiz, do you mind?
And you're just modifying your motion to the language that's being recommended.
I move that the board approve a resolution to be attached to the board meetings of this meeting to award a retention stipend for all full-time employees for the 2021-2022 school year, to be paid only to all full-time employees who have started employment with the district on or before November 7th, 2021 and April 10th, 2022, and any full-time employees who begin employment after November 7th, 2021 and April 10th, 2022 shall not be eligible for this additional supplemental compensation. And further move that we authorize the superintendent to pay the stipends to the full-time employees in 2 equal installments on December 2021 and May 2022, and to authorize the required budget amendments to the general fund and child nutrition funds and ESSER 3 for the estimated total cost of $929,600, and to authorize the board president and secretary of the board to sign the resolution on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Is there a second on Ms. Ortiz modified motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Limon. Any discussion from my colleagues before I move forward with the vote? Yes,
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Luna.
point of information, what is the pay dates for the non-salary? I know they're gonna get paid, according to this, like 3 times in that month.
Yes, sir.
December.
So the first pay date for the biweekly is going to be December 10th. And then for any of those that may have been left off the list, we have then the following week to make that payment to them as well. That way they get it before they go on their Christmas break.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues with regards to agenda item 7E? No? Okay, I'm going to move forward with the vote. Mr. Luna, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Limon, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Mancha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moreno, yay or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay?
Yay.
And myself, yay. So agenda item 7E passes. Agenda item 7F. I think we're gonna, well, I'm gonna move to consider and take appropriate action to approve a resolution to cast the district votes for the election of Bear Appraisal District Board of Directors for the term January 2022 through December 2023. Is there a second on my motion?
A second.
Can we open it for discussion? Okay. Okay, Mr. Hernandez, you're gonna have to walk me through it.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
we've got Mr. Luna and myself as, what are we, nominees? Is that what it
Nominees,
is?
yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
and
So
I
the-
know there's a number of votes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so walk us through it, please, Mr.
So if you,
Hernandez.
in your board book, you have the ballot on page 129.
Okay.
The total number of votes that are allotted to the district are 39 votes. So the board can make the proposal to cast whatever number of votes you want to allocate to any of those nominees, which include yourself and Mr. Luna.
So do I make a motion? Okay, so I move to allocate 38 of our Harlandale votes to Mr. Louis Luna and allocate one of our Harlandale votes to myself, Norma Cavazos. Do I have a second?
Second, ma'am.
Yeah, second, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Any discussion needed on my motion? Okay, I'm gonna move forward with the vote. Mr. Mancha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Moreno, yay or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Luna, yay or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Limon, yay or nay? Yay. Thank you. And myself, yay. So agenda item 7F, 38 of our Harlandale votes go to Mr. Luna and one of our Harlandale votes goes to myself. Passes. Yes, good luck, good luck. Yes, for us. Agenda item 8, to convene in closed
Madam
session.
Chair?
Yes, Mr. Moreno.
Make a motion to move to closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Is there a second?
I'm just
Second.
second.
Okay, Mr. Luna.
Yes.
I will take the vote. Ms. Limon, yay or nay to move into closed session? Yay. Thank you. Mr. Luna, yay or nay to move into closed session?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yay or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Mr. Mancha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay?
Yay.
And myself, yay. So it is 8:15. We are going to convene in closed session. Oh, my God. Okay, we are back in open session. It is 8:55. Agenda item 8A, no action taken. Agenda item 10.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I
Moreno.
make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, sir, you can. Is there a second on Mr. Moreno's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Limon. I will take the vote on that. Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Moreno, yay or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Mr. Luna, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you, Mr. Mancha, yay or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Limon, yay or nay?
Yay.
And myself, yay. It is now 8:56 and tonight's meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Whoop, whoop.